Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Developer Hangout for July 25th? Yeah, July 25th, 2018. I'm Will Hungerford, developer of Privateer Press. With me is Will Pagani, developer of Privateer Press. And in between us is Oz, boss developer of Privateer Press.
Boss developer.
Yep.
Big Papa Oz.
Big Papa Oz,
No.
Big Papa developer. If you're just joining us and you don't know what you're watching, let me go through the schedule. We stream here at Privateer Press 3 times a week, every week, and then sometimes we do extra shows. But every week you can catch us on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, always at 10 a.m. Pacific. On Tuesdays is the weekly Rumble, where we get together and we play some of the games that we make, kind of show off some of the new cool stuff and just have fun. We've been doing a lot of Monster Apocalypse recently on the weekly Rumble. Wednesdays is what you're watching now, the Developer Hangout. Typically we talk about CID, but sometimes we talk about other things. Sometimes we have math lessons. Sometimes we talk about just what's going on with the games and the cool stuff, right? And Thursdays is actually my favorite. It's Dallas's show, Get Your Paint On, with Dallas Kemp, our studio director. And that's where Dallas is going to be painting some of the new models and showing off cool hobby tips and tricks. So you can catch us at twitch.tv/privateerpress. Those 3 days, always at 10 a.m. Pacific. You can also watch us later on at YouTube at youtube.com/privateerpressprime.
And if you're watching right now, like 20 years from now, every time we look over there, it's at the chat screen. So don't think we're weird.
Yep.
We're not ignoring the camera.
So before we get into today's talk about both the Retribution CID Week 3 update and the Supreme Guardian CID, which a lot of people seem to be excited about in chat already. I'm seeing Mecha Jeff in chat. I don't know what that emoji is. Is that like a little
It's like a little man running around excited.
It looks like a peep.
Is it
looks like
it's like a little yellow ghost.
It's like an excited peep.
Couple things for everybody. First off, Gen Con is next week. So most of us are going to be at Gen Con. Come by the booth and see us at Gen Con. Why is that? Because we'll be there and we love seeing you. Also, we're going to have Monster Apocalypse starters and a couple of the blisters as well. So if you're excited about Monster Apocalypse, and I know we're all hype as hell for Monster Apocalypse, come get your agenda starters.
And Brewgrush.
And Brewgrush.
Yeah.
And Severius Zero.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of good stuff, right? It's Gen Con.
We said it out loud.
We always have
I
so much
did
good
say
stuff.
it out loud.
It's real now. It better be real, John, if we don't have it there.
It's in JR's Insider.
I mean, those are just words.
No, when JR says something, it's the realest.
Fair. Well, come see us at Gen Con. Get your Mom Poc. And obviously, we'll have a ton of War Machine and Hordes and everything else the Privateer Press makes. So come by and check us out. Speaking of Monster Apocalypse, don't forget the rules are available for free right now at monsterapocalypse.com. So if you want to get a head start on learning the game, you can go to monsterapocalypse.com, read the entire rulebook for free, come to Gen Con, pick up your agenda starter. There is a MonPoc event we are hosting at the show. So you can actually come play in what will be the first ever Monster Apocalypse tournament in the new edition of Monster Apocalypse.
Yep.
At Gen Con. So we're looking really forward to
And it's
seeing people
Saturday
there.
morning, so you have a couple of days to purchase things and get them together and assembled, and maybe even slap some paint on some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody will be at that
Not like
event.
that. Not like that.
Somebody
slap
will
paint
be
on
at that
things.
event with a fully painted Monpoc force.
Sure.
I guarantee it.
I mean, I painted my entire army in 6 hours, so,
Yeah, 'cause it paints
including
really
a
quick.
building.
Also, you speed paint really well.
I mean, sure.
Now, before we move on to the actual developer hangout, last thing to mention, if you haven't seen yet, there's a new mini crate model that is Eris Angel of Vengeance, and she looks amazing. Angels are dope. Eris is dope. We combine the two, biggity bam. You have till August 19th to order yours. You can go to mini-crate.com, sign up, get your Eris Angel of Vengeance model. I recommend picking it up now. And John, is there still the VIP model if you sign
Yes,
up?
it is still also Mrs. Walls as the VIP
Yeah.
until August 19th.
Yeah.
And then the new one will
And then,
be unveiled.
and that's kind of what
Yeah.
I kind of alley-oop that one to you because there's something new coming up.
Oh, and it's...
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But that also
my
means
favorite one,
to
yeah.
get the VIP model, which is Mrs. Walls, this is also kind of your last window to do that. So both the Eris and the Mrs. Walls. And I really love Mrs. Walls. The monkey's got a gun. Come on.
The monkey has a gun.
Who gave that monkey a gun?
So
Mrs. Walls.
that's the news.
Irresponsible.
Let's get into what just happened. And I mean literally about an hour ago. Buttons were pressed, the CID updated, and we're going to go over some minor changes that occurred in the Retribution CID.
Also, about an hour ago, the forums decided to break themselves.
Yeah.
There's some
We're
weird-
still working on that. There are week 3 forums, and to get there, you have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops. So don't worry about it right now. We're trying to figure out what's going on with the back end of the forums right now and getting it to actually update the front end so that you guys can see all the new forums and stuff. So we're working on it. It might be done already by the time we are out of this, because magical computer gods do things sometimes.
Yeah.
But hopefully it'll be fixed soon.
So,
Yeah.
With that said, let's go over Lord Gear Shield. Gorshade 4 had a change to his feet.
Yeah. So it's not a big change. It's just allowing the stationary portion of his feet to work when you RFP models instead of just destroy them. And the reason we did that is because we just wanted to give his feet a little bump and make it a little more relevant in more situations.
Because RFP completely shut down all aspects of the feet previously. With RFP, you didn't get the soul, and then you also didn't get the stationary effect.
And we didn't apply this change to the entire feed, just that.
Correct,
No,
yeah.
just
So you
the
still don't gain the souls and stuff if they remove
Yeah.
your models from play and that kind of thing. So it's only the stationary portion of it.
Just a minor bump, but something nice, right?
Yep.
Raven got a change, which was again kind of small, but her Warjack points went down to 28, and that's because Raven's in a really good place. We're actually really happy
Yeah.
with how she's going. I'm not going to use the words "she's perfect" because I know what happens if we say that, but we're very happy. This is your last week to get your testing in because we have one more week of the Retribution CID right now. But she was a little bit strong for her Warjack points in comparison to other casters in the faction and just sort of across the game. We brought her down a point. Not a huge change, but just, consistency.
Yeah. And that's part of our evaluation process. We sometimes make changes that are not to make a model better. If we make the model better in some way, sometimes we come back and we change something else about the model to bring it back down to try to even it out.
Yep, exactly.
There's some stuff in the chat that says people feel like my mic is off.
It's been fixed.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
You can hear me?
Hooray.
Yay?
Thanks, chat.
So that was the only two changes we made to models.
To models, yeah. And then I do want to talk about specifically Legions of Dawn. We also have a tiny change to Forges of War. Well, it's not really tiny, but a change to Forges of War where the Dongar Trident is now allowed in Forges of War.
Yep.
And yeah, so we had a lot of discussion on the CID forums about that kind of stuff. And where the Dongar Trident is an AR model, it does kind of make sense to have it in the Shail Theme Force because it is that sort of high-tech stuff that Shail's been working on. And where the Battle Mage driving it is not a Shail Battle Mage, or it's not even a Battle Mage, it's a Sybil. But anyways,
Yeah.
we're going deep here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we felt that would be a fine inclusion. Give it a shot. Tell us what you think.
Yep.
Break it. Do stuff. Get in
Yeah,
there.
you have a couple days and a weekend
Yep.
to give us some sort of feedback.
And then Legions of Dawn, I think, is the big one in this update. We weren't really happy with where the benefits for Legions of Dawn were. It was a little oppressive in general for scenario play and things like that, and just speed in general is something that we're keeping an eye on. We wanted to promote a little more, or we wanted to keep the idea of sort of the mixed force for infantry and warjacks, so we gave them a lot of benefits that sort of promote that kind of thing. As has been brought up, it is possible for Iran to force hammer 1-inch into deployment zones with stacking about 1 million things together. We're going to be keeping an eye on that as it goes forward.
Yeah.
So,
And one of the reasons we changed this, like the Legions of Dawn theme force is really like the premier combined arms, like the elite combined arms theme force, right? And so, like
Yeah.
Pagani was mentioning earlier, the +2 speed, there was a couple scenarios, like when we were watching, reading people's battle reports where they just got pushed out of scenario utterly, right?
Yeah.
And we realized
Yeah.
that the theme force benefits of this one, they can be good and interesting and provide something fun, but they don't need to be crazy strong because this is already a very good theme force in terms of what they can bring. They get to bring all these Dawnguard models. It's very similar, in my opinion, may not be shared by the rest of the team, to the Exemplar theme force, and that the Exemplar theme force, the interdiction, is a very strong theme force just based on the amount of models it can take and the variety you get of things like having the Vengers and regular Exemplar. You've got ranged, you've got elite, you've got it all, right? And so, some of their benefits aren't like crazy nut strong because they don't necessarily need to be. They just need to be interesting and fun. And I think we're trying to hit the exact same thing here.
and yes, the chat is going crazy. We are absolutely aware of Raven can also do some really janky things with open fire to shoot into deployment zones on top of one. That actually has nothing to do with the current benefit. That just happens. Like, you can just always do that kind of thing
Yeah.
with her. I don't personally particularly see that as an issue because it's not like it's not something that I'm worried about, I guess, is the best way to put it.
But show us, right? Go do some
yeah,
battle
yeah.
reports.
If you can break it, go for it.
That's what battle reports are for.
But I'm personally not too worried about the Raven one at the moment. The Force Hammer's a little different. It's a slam. It's that kind of thing. You can set up a lot of stuff with it. You can shut down a lot of things with it. So I think that one's far more concerning to me.
Yep.
So
That's the Retribution changes. Obviously, you got 1 week left. Please go to cid.privateerpress.com. Join in. There's, Legion of the Dawn. We want to see a lot of testing on the new benefits. It shows what you can do. We're going to pay very close attention to it. Let's move into the new CID that just started. That's also going
Yep.
for 1 week.
It's about 10 days, I think.
It's
a little over.
It's till the
Yeah.
6th of next month. I
So
wanna say.
if you weren't watching yesterday morning when I explained, sometimes, like we've said in the past, our production schedules shift around, and we got a chance to release the Supreme Guardian way earlier than we thought we were going to.
And why wait?
And yeah, why wait?
Why wait?
So we like to CID things before they get released. It's the logical way to do things. So we are doing a special, super cool CID just for this one model because it's going to go up for pre-order way earlier than we had planned. We're not going to say the official date yet because that could still change by a week or two.
Because that would be a terrible idea.
So yeah, but expect to hear fairly soon when you can pre-order the Supreme Guardian.
So before we go over them real fast, there's some others, in case you missed it and you're just seeing like the rules being posted around Facebook and stuff, there's a couple other changes that we mentioned when we talked about Supreme Guardian. One is that he's going to be in more theme forces. And
Masters
two,
of War specifically.
Yep, Masters of War. And two, Zal 1's ability to give out, spend a Fury and give out a soul to Exalted with Gatekeeper isn't going to just be solos anymore. It's just going to be models with Gatekeeper so that he can give a soul to the Supreme Guardian. That's going to make Zal 1 be, we hear a lot about Zal 2 and Zal 1. You see some play, but I think Zal 1 is definitely going to get a bump up in terms of even more viability with the Supreme Guardian and the ability to do that. And it would be a lot of fun to see what people do with those kind of lists, especially being able to last stand a unit and then like bring guys back with the Supreme Guardian's ability. There's a lot of cool stuff there. But let's go over what the Supreme Guardian does.
We do have a question in chat right quick from Spogulator, which is any possible hints at the cost of the Supreme Guardian? We work in development and have nothing to do with any of that, so we have no idea at all.
I was
Yeah.
going to say 16 points, and then I realized you meant money.
Yeah, if you're talking about point cost, it's on the screen right now.
Yeah.
So you can just check that out. But I would
Yeah,
assume that
those-
you were talking about dollar bills.
Those decisions are made about how complicated the model is to produce and the materials that go into it and all that stuff. And they usually make those decisions up until the moment that it goes up for pre-order. So we're not in that department, and they might not have decided that yet. They don't tell us.
So how about I'll do the stat line, you do the rules, and you do the weapons?
Sure.
Sure.
So the Supreme Guardian, I love models that have lots of subtypes because there's just so many applications. You never know when it's going to come up. So he's a Scorn Exalted Ancestral Guardian Battle Engine. That's just awesome to me. Stat wise, he's speed 6. He's moving pretty fast. Mat 7. We'll talk about his abilities later on, but he can be more accurate than just Mat 7. Def 8 because he's a giant rock statue, man, and he's Arm 19, obviously with Zal 2.
He's a giant rock statue.
Yeah, Zal 2 can
Man.
increase that, and also you've got
There's no
access to
comment
the Tinkerer to be able to repair him. He has 30 damage boxes, so at 19, 30 damage boxes with repair available. That's not bad at
fairly
all.
durable.
FA2, obviously. He costs 16 points. We'll be paying very close attention to his point cost in relation to how he does versus the other battle engines. And that's his basic stat line.
Sure.
Pagani, you want to go over his rules?
Sure. So he's got Defensive Strike, which is super awesome when you're POW 18. He's also a siege weapon, which I'm kind of jumping ahead into.
Hey,
Oz's
hey, hey,
territory.
hey.
Whoa.
I'm sorry.
Hey,
But I really like the Defensive Strike siege weapon interaction because I think that's really spicy and fun.
And he's got Divine Inspiration. Oh,
Super dope. Yeah, Oz, you want to steal it?
No.
You-
Keep going. Keep going. You just keep going.
and then he's got Soul Taker Gatekeeper,
Oh,
so he can
oh.
pick up to 3 souls from friendly models that die around him.
I don't get
He's
that.
got Arcane Vortex, which is amazing.
Amazing on a huge basis.
Um,
For Sacral Vault, I mean, I get to use that all the time, and it's amazing on a huge basis.
Yep.
It's so good, especially when you can get these souls so easily.
He's got Soul Powered, which lets him buy additional attacks with souls. Distinction here, he is not able to boost with souls.
Correct.
Like that is a thing here.
Doesn't really
So-
need.
Sure,
I mean,
but
he has perma signs
that's
of
something to
importance.
note, right?
Yeah.
And then Vault of the Faithful to me is a very exciting role for this guy because I think it gets him into a bunch of different lists and a bunch of different armies, which lets him return warrior models to play, specifically grunt warrior models. We had to put all those words in there, faction grunt warrior model, because otherwise you could return scarabs to play. And
It was
that's kinda
weird.
Yeah.
So we nipped that one right off before it even got there. So that was exciting to me. You can play in the Masters of War. You can get Swordsman back. You can get Cataphract back. You can get Immortals back in the Exalted Theme Force and stuff. So
You can play him in
it
Winds
does
of
a whole
Death.
lot of stuff.
You can play him in Winds of Death if you wanted to,
Sure.
right? And I admit that, like, in Exalted and I think Masters of War, he's going to be stronger. But in Winds of Death, I think there's a lot of fun applications too. Now, a lot of people are probably going to look at some other choices, but if you wanted to, if you're a player and you're like, I just want to bring a ton of the weapon crews. That's what I'm into. Like, I just want to bring max FA on all the weapon
Yeah,
crews.
you
You can
can-
just have the guy hang back and just keep putting the grunts back. Experiment with him. You know,
Yes.
I think you're going to see the immediate strengths of Masters of War and Exalted, but play around, see what you can do.
And then, of course, Soul Vessel. He got a soul in him.
He do.
He's at
Maybe
least
got
one.
at least one.
He got one baby soul in a big old body.
big old body. And then Soul Ward, I think, is also a very strong rule on this guy, which says enemy people can't steal your souls.
Yes.
And that's within 10 inches of a huge base.
So it's
And
muy
if
grande.
You have 2 of them, it covers basically
Even
all.
more grande.
Yeah.
Yep.
All the grande.
Now, there's a question real fast while we're talking about the base rules before we go over the weapons. JP Great One on Twitch says, was it intentional for him to have no Pathfinder? I can say yes, actually. Souls and I were playtesting him 2 days ago and had a discussion about him not having Pathfinder. And I can tell you that it was intentional that he does not come with base Pathfinder. Does that change? Maybe. We'll see. But that was not an oversight on what is printed on this card right now.
And then his weapons. So if you've seen the image of him, is that okay?
Yes.
Go to his weapons?
I love your delivery. I just love it.
Sure. So if you've seen an image of him, he's carrying a sword that is literally larger than a lot of things in the game.
It is.
Souls physically measured it on one of the pre-production prototypes. We're not sure the exact size the thing is going to get made at, but the sword is 3 1/4 or 3.5 inches long.
Yes.
It's gigantic. So I'm going to start with the Obsidian Blade, which is a siege weapon. Thanks, Pagani. And you'll notice on it, it has range 3.
Yep.
We've never done that before,
So we've always done range half, 1, 2, or chain strike.
which is a
4.
special rule that gives you range 4.
Only during your
Yeah.
activation. We've never done a standard range that wasn't half, 1, or 2. So
Yeah.
this is the first time we've ever done this.
So
It's super cool.
This is going to be something to watch for. Not necessarily something you need to test, but your opponent will probably not notice this at first if they haven't read these rules.
Yeah.
They'll be like, okay, it has reach. It has 2 inches of melee range, but no, it has
No.
3 because it's really, really big,
Which is important for another rule on that sword.
which is Thresher. It
So-
has a 3-inch Thresher.
Divine Inspiration, which is effectively melee Signs Importance. So when you have Signs Importance built in and you have a 3-inch Thresher at Pop Strength 18, like you just murder all the infantry that gets in your way. All of it. Like nothing's going to survive that, right?
Yeah.
He's terrifying, and then he can buy additional attacks. So even if you put him into a heavy, which I don't know, man. Like this guy's really scary. Because did you mention siege weapon already?
Yeah, he already did.
Yeah.
A couple times.
So you put him into another gargantuan or even a colossal, like Signs of Importance 18, being able to buy like 3 additional attacks and basically having additional dial on damage. Like this thing will just tear things apart, right?
Yep.
He's terrifying.
Yeah. And then, if you've seen the art, which John has flashed up there, there's also a giant torch thing on his back. He's kind of like a big lighthouse. And that's a gun. He can shoot you
He's
somehow.
like a big evil Statue of Liberty.
Sort of.
Except
Okay.
for Scorner, all about the opposite of liberty.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
said a big evil Statue of Liberty. Yeah.
Evil liberty.
Evil Liberty.
Unliberty?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Fires of Rage is what his big torch thing is called, and it's pretty straightforward. It's a magical continuous effect fire, range 10, power 14 weapon with a 4-inch AoE.
It's 4-inch AoE,
So
though.
it can affect a large part of the battlefield.
Skadoosh.
Now, this did change from what we showed during the keynote at Lock and Load, and he went through several iterations. I mean, originally he had Assault, he had Beacon on that, but we realized his strength lie in providing the utility to his army to protect the souls and bring people back, and then just being a melee beast. I mean, while he's obviously not the same, there's a lot of comparisons you could make to the Wraith engine in the sense that it's
Yeah.
almost melee only, and it provides that armor bubble, and it's got Dark Shroud. Like it's a melee utility beat stick battle engine, which is what the Supreme Guardian is. He just has the added benefit of having a 4-inch AoE that sets everything on fire, which
Sure.
is really sweet.
Yeah, we want to give him support and offense in a slightly different way than we'd imagine. And that's one of the things we always warn people, don't make purchases based on CID.
Correct.
Or teasers.
Yep.
Because up until the point it's published, we are possibly changing things, arranging rules, tweaking points values, maybe even FA sometimes. So be very, very wary of running out and buying a model because you like how it's working in CID, or buying 15 of them if, they're solos that we all of a sudden
You
made
can,
FAU.
however, go buy them because they look dope.
Sure,
Now-
sure. You can always buy models because they look good, but be careful about crazy purchases like, we made this thing FAU, so I went out and I bought 60 of them. That might not be a thing at the end of the CID.
Sure. Or you do you.
Or you do you.
So we have 10 days for the CID, so let's talk about things real fast. Because these being bumped up in the schedule, we want a CID. We're doing this as a single model. By the way, this does not in any way if you're worried about the Exalted CID later on being screwed up or anything like that.
Doesn't change that schedule.
Doesn't change it at all. This is actually just, it's a little bit of lanyap, right? It's just a little benefit coming up.
He did it. I didn't think he would.
Of course I'm going to do it. Lanyap's a great word.
He's saying words that don't exist. He's just making things up.
Are you saying that Cajun words don't exist? Let's get back on topic.
Basically.
So we have
What?
10 days to test him, and then you're going to get a chance to be able to get him pretty soon. So put him out there. Obviously, we want to see him in Exalted lists. Like, we're seeing a lot of people testing there. Pagani, Masters of War, where would you start, in your opinion?
I mean, Strati are amazing, right?
And bringing him back is really good?
Yep. Especially with things like Defender's Ward or other armor buffs that can go on them. Like, the unit's super great. You can bring him back. Supreme Guardian is great, and the dude's just a beater. So,
Do you personally, this is just like kind of off the top of your head, do you think he'll be stronger in Exalted, or do you think he'll be stronger in Masters of War? Do you think it's pretty comparable?
I mean, I think he does different things for both, right? Like, I think Soul Ward is great in Exalted, right? Because those UAs pick up the souls and all that kind of stuff. I think that's a much less relevant rule in Masters of War. Like, it'll affect himself, which is awesome, but it's not like as ubiquitous or amazing as it'll be in Exalted. And then I think things like Vault of the Faithful is good in both, but I think you're getting a lot more value out of it in Masters of War.
Yeah.
So.
And chat brought up, Siegfried just brought up Stay Death, and this guy seems good. Yeah, I mean, there's some really interesting Warlock combinations. Makeda 2 with him is going to be amazing. And obviously Zal 1 and Zal 2 with the Supreme Guardian are both in crazy good in different ways.
Yeah.
Mecha Jeff is really hype.
Yeah, he is super excited about the Supreme Guardian.
That's little peep woo.
I think that's like the 15th Supreme Guardian woo
Yes.
with his little excited peeps.
Now, Matthew LaCroix asked about the Tharn CID. So again, the Tharn CID was not impacted by the Supreme Guardian CID at all. Don't think you got pushed back or anything like that. That nothing like that's going on. And I don't believe we've announced the start date for the Tharn CID yet.
Nope.
So-
It's soon.
It's not too long away.
It's
though.
coming up,
Yeah.
but
Right.
it's not announced yet because
Gen Con's got to happen first.
it might get tweaked.
Yep.
But yeah, when we get back from Gen Con, we're gonna evaluate, set a date for it, a final date for it, and launch.
Do you guys have anything else about the Supreme Guardian you kind of want to put forth to the community as they begin testing it?
I don't think
No,
so.
I'm pretty much good to go on that guy. I think he does a lot of cool stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's take a second before we end our dev chat today, see if there's any questions that we want to answer.
Siegfried says, was Goreshade 4 too much with Constant Soul Collection? I don't want to wish list, but. So Goreshade 4 thematically doesn't make a lot of sense to have Constant Soul Collection because that's not really what he's doing. And his feat, I think, is more of a show of how his gods are blessing him and affecting him and how he's the savior of his people, not a constant lich type idea anymore.
Personally, I also think it would make him like he can if he got Constant Soul Collection. I think his power level would go too far. The pendulum would swing too far. Like he has a lot of options, and he's not supposed to be able to do all of those options every turn. But when he feats, that is sort of generating both the secondary effect of the stationary and getting all the souls to have a following turn where you can then use all of your options.
I also like how Getz is yelling at me in chat.
Oh sure.
Savior of his people. I'm a Vire apologist, apparently.
So I just think I think he would be far less interesting to play design-wise if he could get the souls every turn. Like
Sure.
I think the way
Well,
he
I think-
functions is great. It's fun.
I think the fact that he can do everything that he wants to do right
Is
now every
important.
turn is the only reason he's okay.
Yeah.
I think if you gave him a soul turn-by-turn thing, it would be too much.
Striker 911 says, we'd be keeping a close eye on the 3-inch melee. We will, but to be honest with you, I think the 3-inch melee is probably the least of our concerns with him. I think it's super cool, and like Chain Strike exists. So, I mean, obviously that goes from 4-inch only during your activation back down to the normal range. So it being 3 all the time, I mean, sure, he gets to free strike a little bit. Like,
Sure.
But
yeah, I'm not too concerned about
I'm
the
not
3-inch
super
melee,
worried about it.
honestly. There was a couple that popped in there. Is the Supreme Guardian Bahi? I think so, but once again, we're in development.
Yeah.
I don't actually know. Give Exemplar CID spam is starting up. I love you guys. Dongers make me smile. I like your little guys. Their little hands. It's great. We also had a couple questions pop past about the Trident and how we feel about it and how it's so decisive in the community right now. Honestly,
Divisive, not decisive.
I mean, it's both. It's
Sure.
very to the point.
what?
And
Like it's
That
to, it's
comment
to the
was
3 points.
divisive.
That comment
yes,
was a
not
lot of people
decisive.
say it's the greatest thing ever, and a lot of people say it's not good enough.
Yes.
So
Honestly, I think it's a playstyle issue. And I think we're at a pretty solid point in terms of game balance for it. So people that like the random rate of fire and are willing to play with it and do that kind of thing are the people that like it. And I think the people that think it's not good enough are stuck on that random rate of fire and those random tokens and stuff.
Yep.
So I think it's just sort of a what do you want out of the game and what kind of models do you like. Not every model is made for every player, and not every model has to be liked by every player. But as long as there's a chunk of people that do like it and like what it does, I'm pretty happy.
I'm going to handle a quick question real fast. Michael McAvoy says, can we order Severius Zero from the online store during Gen Con? Exclusives, yes. Severius Zero is an exclusive, so you'll be able to order him on the online store during Gen Con.
Cool.
Any pre-releases, however, like Monster Apocalypse, are not available on the online store. That's the delimiter.
So Spogulator on Twitch says, is there anything you guys feel is the biggest concern about the Supreme Guardian? So my answer is going to be anytime you create a model that can bring people back reliably over and over again, independent of the caster, that's always a concern. We've tested it. We haven't been able to bust it, but the CID process to make sure there's nothing we didn't
You guys
think
find
of.
a lot of stuff that we don't think of.
So
Yeah.
my
You're doing a
top
great job.
concern isn't how hard this guy hits, because it's Scorn, right? Like they have plenty of things that hit really hard, and I mean he's incredibly powerful and will kill battle engines, possibly even Colossals by himself. But yeah, bring back Citrati every turn, bring back 3 Citrati every turn. What does that do? So I'm interested to see what you guys do with those lists.
Sure. The Dragon Pup started a question to developers with the word can. So the answer is yes. We could do that.
Can the Colossus
I
destruction?
just want no. Don't read the rest of the question. It doesn't matter. Just when you ask developers, can you do something? The answer is yes.
We did talk about that yesterday, briefly. And Drunk Through,
Yes.
there is no CID schedule for what's upcoming because we don't tell you guys so that we don't have to lie to you or change your giant expectations.
Things change all the time.
Because sometimes we do say, like we write an insider that says before the end of the year you can expect these CIDs. And then that doesn't happen because of schedules changing 6 months ahead of time. So we try to not build up expectations just to change them, so it's easier just not to say something.
Sure.
So Tharn is coming, Scorn is coming, that's all we've talked about, and they're coming in that order, Tharn first and Scorn, as far as we know right now.
Yes.
So before we start wrapping up for today, we're not going to be here next week. We're going to be at Gen Con. John, what is the stream schedule for next week?
No schedule.
Okay.
So basically, all of Gen Con week, because we're either traveling or setting up a booth or interacting with people at Gen Con, there's nobody here to stream. However, keep an eye on facebook.com/officialprivateerpress because Dallas is known to kind of guerrilla his paint on regularly. And I gave him access so he can run wild. So expect to see all kinds of things that he's painting live from Gen Con. You'll probably see some Formula P3 Grandmaster stuff, things like that. I just don't have a set schedule because, well, Gen Con.
Cool. Do you guys see anything else you want to answer before we?
Ooh, yeah, I want to hit this grab.
Alec wants to know where you get this shirt. You travel back in time to 2008.
Yep. Scrapjack asks, why is there such a huge variance in lag time for CID rules going live? Trenchers were 26 days, Trolls were 82 or so, Exemplar is currently at 65. Are there model considerations or variable time on final testing internally? So there is some variable time on final testing internally, but a lot of it also has to do with other departments' workloads, right? Because it's not like we finish the CID, the three of us are like, these rules are great, and then it just pops out on the webpage, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just not how it works.
Yeah, the card database being updated is a big deal.
Yeah,
right?
so we have to have graphics designers create the cards. We have to have editors go through the new rules and stuff. Otherwise, you end up with a lot of the weird typos that you see in CID because we're not really editors or English people, right? Like we're here to make rules.
We're not English people technically. We're Americans, but we do speak English, sort of.
Yeah, I have to deal with this every day.
all day.
All day. But yeah, so like there's just a lot of other departments, marketing, like John's involved, right? Like so he has to get all those graphics ready and stuff. We have to write the developer notes; those have to get edited, and that kind of stuff takes time. So that's why you see some that are 26 days apparently for trenchers, which I don't even know if that's true. I don't keep track of these things necessarily.
Sure.
And you see some that go as long as like the Troll one was 82 days, and then there's also things like shows in the middle. Like we are a relatively small company, right? Like there's 4 developers. We have a couple graphics designers. John's our main marketing guy. So if these people have vacation planned, if they have shows that they're being sent to by the company,
Other stuff they're
represent
working
stuff,
on.
if they have to make Monpoc rule
Production
books or whatever,
schedules.
right? Like all of these things factor into how long it takes a CID cycle to go live.
Sure.
So there's a lot more that happens to get one of these pushed live than you think, I guess is probably the best way to talk about it.
Sure.
So.
Dragon Pope says, was there any discussion for the Kovas's destruction spawn rule to be reworded to allow him to poop out of his Supreme Guardian?
And I said we talked about that yesterday.
It won't, Dragon Pope.
I don't ever want him to poop out of the Supreme Guardian.
I mean, he said his words were poop out of the
I
Supreme
know
Guardian.
it says it very clearly.
Dragon Pup, don't expect the Kovas to come breaking out of him. We talked about it. It's not something we want to do at this time. We want him to still have his place with the regular and sized Ancestral Guardians. Cool. I think that's most of the questions we're going to get for today. So before we go, everybody, a couple things. Remember, we won't be streaming next week, but you can normally join us every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific for In Order, weekly Rumble on Tuesdays, Developer Hangout on Wednesdays, Get Your Paint On Thursdays. So games, development, and hobby. I mean, things that we all love to do. But big deal, Gen Con's next week. So come see us at Gen Con, everybody.
Yeah.
Come see us at Gen Con. Get your Monster Apocalypse Agenda starter boxes. Get your hands on the first release of Monster Apocalypse as a hobby miniatures game. The new edition, it's so much fun. It's so awesome. I cannot wait to get my hands on the Martians, but I'm also going to pick up some other destroyers as well. John is holding a single finger up. Now he's closed it into a fist. I don't know what's
It was
going
a pointer finger.
So basically, what I was going to point out to that is there are some people that can't make it to Gen Con.
Yes.
And as I mentioned, pre-releases, sadly, we can't offer them on the store
Yes.
during the show. What you can do, however,
is send ninjas.
you can send ninjas. That is a thing. And we'll be making some ninjas later. Shinobi. However, the other thing that you can do to get your hands on that sweet, sweet Monster Apocalypse, go into your local game store. Say, I would like to pre-order Monster Apocalypse. And they will get it for you. And exchange goods for money.
Yes.
Goods for money.
So, but if you're coming to Gen Con as well, come see us.
Yeah.
Come swing by the booth. Check us out.
I won't be there.
Pagani won't be there.
I
I got baby time.
got baby
Yeah.
coming.
By the way, for everyone watching before we end the stream, this is probably the last stream we're going to have Pagani on for a few weeks, maybe like a month and a half, 2 months. So, like Pagani mentioned, he's got a Babu coming. So,
Bye, everyone.
he'll be back. You'll see him again. But if you don't see Pagani on the stream for like 2 months, don't worry. He's still alive. He's just having a little baby Pagani, full beard and all.
Unless we all die. In which case, then I won't be back.
No.
I don't know how that's going to happen, but...
Darkest dev chat ending ever. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching. We will talk to you later.
Everything is possible.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you don't make it, you don't make it, right?
Bye.
Hungerford could die, I could die.
Why? Why
I'm
is,
saying
it,
it's
why is it
possible.
ending this way?
Death is a constant reality.
Look at all the congrats going by on